Happy birthday, Master Sergeant Burns. You know, over the years, we've all gone through the stages of the Tonka toys, the Super Soaker, the BB gun, etc. And I'm sure you got more than your fair share of socks and underwear. But this year, you're getting a knife. Now, I went online and I researched survival knife. And with lots of opinions and lots of information, this is the one I came up with. This is the BK-2, Bravo Kilo number 2. Nice thing about this knife is it was made by K-Bar. They've been making knives for our military since World War II. Now I can tell you from my 20 years in law enforcement and as a certified edged weapons survival instructor, any knife will cut you. Every knife has made to a certain purpose. Some are made for cooking, some are made for skinning game, some are made for cutting wood, etc. And since the beginning of time, man picked up a rock, sharpened a stick, put a sharp rock on the end of a stick, and eventually, recently, started making knives out of steel. Now, in my opinion, the most common demise of a good sheath knife is losing it. This one has a loop in the back for the belt. It's loose, it moves with you under your clothing or whatever you're doing, walking, running, riding your quad, whatever. It stays with you and it moves around. It's got a strap for holding it close to your body. And even if all that fails and this knife flips and you don't know it, you're not going to lose it. They've made the sheath with a thumb spot and kind of a spread open, and you've got to put your thumb on it and give it a pull to pull it apart. Now the thing, they call this a survival knife. I like to call it a camp knife because it's made for using in and around the camp and getting work done. The features of this that separate it from most other kinds of knives are quite a few actually. They give it a 5 1/4 inch blade. Anything longer than that would be unwieldy and not really useful in a camping situation. They make the tang full width. It runs all the way down, full width down both sides and sticks out the bottom. They don't neck it down and put it through a handle, which makes it a weak point right here. They make it out of high carbon steel. And they've selected it carefully to have an edge that will hold and keep its sharpness, but is not so hard that you can't resharpen it. You'll notice here this is flat. A lot of hollow ground knives, they grind this out to make for a thinner blade, for better cutting. This one they wanted more rugged, so they leave it thick. This is called a saber cut, much like the sabers from the cavalry, etc. It's made out of a 1/4 inch piece of steel plate, and it's hard enough to hold an edge, but yet it's not brittle. If you use this to pry something or peel something open, you're not going to snap it. The handle, as you can see, has a forward curve, so if you're pushing in, you don't slide down the blade. It's got a curve in the back, so if you're pounding on something, it's not going to slide down the bottom end either. They put a hole in the bottom. If you've got to tie this to a stick for fishing, hunting, or defending yourself against larger animals, you're not going to lose it if your lashings come loose. Now let's say you're out in the woods for any one of a variety of reasons. You're hiking, you're camping, you're riding your quad, you're riding your snowmobile or your dirt bike, and something breaks down and you're stuck out in the woods and it's pouring down rain and you're cold, all right? The only dry piece of wood in the woods, and even the little sticks are wet, the only dry thing you're going to find is the inside of a stick like this. You can take this knife, put it there on the ground, and hit it with another knife, with another stick, and drive this and split this piece of wood. Then you take each of those pieces and you split them again and you split them again until you've got a bunch of split up wood. Then you take that little point and you slice it off, and you slice off another one, and make some real thin pieces, and you've got a pile of some real dry small wood. Then you make bigger and bigger pieces and you put them down here in larger pieces. And once you get that little piece of fire going, you can add on until you've got yourself a nice fire. Now the sheath. This is Kydex. It's reversible if you want to take this off and turn it around. And I put this, looped this full of paracord. 3 inches on both sides makes about a 6-inch piece times 12 lashings. You've actually got 6 or 7 feet of paracord on here, and this is 800 pounds test strength paracord. And you use this paracord for a number of things. Say you're out in the woods and it's starting to rain and your car's broken down, your quad's broken down, or you're just in a tough spot. You can take a stick and lash it between 2 small trees, put a bunch of sticks against it, some pine boughs, a bunch of flat leaves, and more pine boughs, and you've got kind of a shingle effect, and you can get under there, and you're not dry, but you're not out in the pouring rain. If you need to make a snare, make a loop out of this, pull down a sapling and put a loop over it with a stick on it, and then you loop up around it. Something goes through and pulls this off. You can put worms or grubs or whatever, or even cut your own finger and put it on, and something will go down or come through that if it's on its own path, and yank that, and that bow will hold it tight enough to keep the rope from just falling off or whatever it is you're trying to catch. If you want to go fishing, take a branch with a couple branches coming off, and you sharpen this one, and you tie your paracord around here, and you put your grub or your crayfish or one on it, throw it out there. The paracord is going to look like any other stick or whatever out in the water, and you might catch a fish. This can be used as a tourniquet. If you've got a cut, you go above the cut and you wrap the tourniquet around and you twist it with a stick and even stitch it back and forth and hold it. That'll stop the bleeding. The ASPCA or the CIA or whoever it is that does medical protocols says these days, when you put a tourniquet on, don't take it off, because the person's already lost a lot of blood, and taking it off to let blood go through the arm, it's already severed. You're not going to feed that arm to blood. The standard protocol these days is save the life, lose the limb. Now, if you're going to carry this knife, carry it over your hip pocket. Don't carry it in the side like in the cowboy and Indian movies, because if you're riding or doing or working or whatever and it flops around and it comes around in front and you go down, even the sheath is going to cause damage, femoral artery, etc. Carry it over your butt, back here. There's nothing back there that you can cut that's really going to be life-threatening. And finally, when you're going to hand a knife to somebody, you don't hand it to them like that. You don't hand it to them like that. If you're going to hand somebody a knife, you go like that. You grab hold of that blade and you hold on to it. When they take the knife from you, make them take it. That way you're not out there dangling it around. If somebody drops it, nobody's got a hole in their toe. So, happy birthday. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.